So time to go into the YouTube side. It says my connection is slow on my phone. That's a normal thing. Hopefully y'all are hearing me. First one in is my Hi. Trying to get this thing level so that way you can see me. And hopefully you can hear me. My glasses are all smudged. No wonder I can't see. Okay, thank you, sis. I went live a little early, so maybe people will be able to come in before I start reading. Hopefully. I never know, so thank you. She said she shared me out. I got hurt at work the other day. Sunday, I went to do something and I grabbed something and it got caught and I wrenched my arm to try to take it anyway. And that was a big mistake. I should have not done that because now my arm hurts so bad. I've been kind of trying to not use it so much. Okay. I'm Sandra. I'm an alcoholic. Please do not do any judging each other in the chats or the comments. This is AA and not the place for those. And please don't go harass somebody else's channel. Just because they're in here does not mean that they're the alcoholic or anything like that. Maybe they're here to help a friend or family member teaching themselves ways to handle somebody that is an alcoholic. And so, or they're just here to support my channel and my sobriety. So just be nice, and that's all I ask. Like I said, I'm Sandra. I'm an alcoholic. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our lives and our will over the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Stop through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And so I also put in the description, which is under more. I put these all in my playlist. It's called AA playlist. If you're watching from the playlist and you push the more under the name of the thing, the description, it should tell you the book we're reading, the page we're reading, and the name of the story we're reading. And then I just go through and I say how things have changed since I was drinking till now and the journey it took to get here. Anyways, so we are in the big book. I am in the 4th edition. In case if you're in a different one, it will probably be on a different page. So they lost nearly all. This is before the chapter we're starting now. The 15 stories in this group tell of alcoholism at its miserable worst. Many tried everything: hospitals, special treatments, sanitariums, asylums, and jails. Nothing worked. Loneliness, great physical and mental agony. These were the common lot. Most had taken shattering losses on nearly every front of life. Some went on trying to live with alcohol, others wanted to die. Alcoholism had respected nobody, neither rich nor poor, learned nor unlettered. All found themselves headed for the same destruction, and it seemed they could do nothing whatever to stop it. Now sober for years, they tell us how they got well. They proved to most everyone's satisfaction that it's never too late to try Alcoholics Anonymous. And we are on My Bottle, My Resentment, and Me on page 437. Yes, I told Tony that I was going live. I sent her the link. From childhood trauma to Skid Row drunk, this hobo finally found a higher power, bringing sobriety and a long lost family. You're getting stuffing out of that. He has a carrot, and he loves this carrot, and he got holes in it, pulling the stuffing out of his face. We had to get him another lamb because he chewed that thing to shreds too, and so we have an extra one, so we don't have to buy it again anytime soon. Andy likes those little tennis balls that squeak. He is a different dog. Anyway, when I rode into a small mountain town in an empty freight car, my matted rider, can you stop bouncing the bed, please? No. Get your carrot. Get your carrot. Here. Get it. He's very distracting. Get it. No. Come over this way. Come over this way. He does not listen. You're probably going to get knocked over, so you know. No. we're doing the training thing with him now. Anyways, when I rode into a small mountain town in an empty freight car, my matted beard and filthy hair would have reached nearly to my belt if I'd had a belt. I wore a lice-infested, grimy Mexican poncho over a reeking pajama top and a ragged pair of jeans stuffed into cowboy boots with no heels. I carried a knife in one boot and a pew-pew in the other. For 6 years, I'd been fighting for survival on Skid Row and riding across the country in freights. I hadn't eaten in a long time, so was half starved and down to 130 pounds. I was mean and I was drunk, but I'm ahead of myself. I believe my alcoholism really began when I was 11 years old and my mother was brutally taken off. Until then, my life had been much the same as any of the other boys who lived in a small town during that period. One night, my mother failed to return home from her job at a car manufacturing plant. The next morning, there was still no sign of her or any clue to why she had disappeared. With great apprehension, the police were called. Since I was a mama's boy, this was especially traumatic for me. And to make matters unbelievably worse, a few days later, the police came and arrested my father. They had found my mom's beaten body in a field outside of town and wanted to question him. In that instant, the family life I knew was destroyed. My father was soon returned because the police had found a pair of glasses that did not belong to him at the scene. This clue led to the man who had so brutally offed my mother. At school, the gossip was vicious. At home, there was chaos, and no one would tell me what was happening. So I withdrew and began to block out the reality around me. If I could pretend it didn't exist, I might go away. I became extremely lonely and defiant. That confusion, pain, and grief had begun to subside when an article appeared in a often mystery magazine about my family's misfortune. The children at school started to gossip and scrutiny all over again. I retreated further and became angrier and more withdrawn. It was easier that way because people would leave me alone if I acted disturbed, even before they tried to inquire. Because my father was unable to care for all 9 of us, the family had to be split up. About a year later, he remarried, and my oldest brother offered to take me in. He and his new wife tried to help me, but I was just so defensive. There was little they or anyone else could do. Finally, I took a job after school sorting soda bottles in a grocery store, where I found I could forget if I worked hard enough. In addition, it was a good place to steal beer and be a big guy with the other kids in school. That's the way my drinking began, as a way to make the pain go away. After several years of semi-delinquent adolescence, I was old enough to join the Marines, leaving behind the origin of my bitterness. I thought my life would be better and the drinking not so bad. However, during boot camp, I recognized that this was not the answer. The discipline, the authority, the tight schedule went against my very nature. But it was a 2-year stint, so there had to be a way to function in spite of the anger and now hatred that seethed through me. Every night found me at a bar drinking until they threw me out. They got me through the week. On weekends, we went to a club nearby. This place was managed by people who drank as much as or more than I did. I became a constant customer. Arguments and fights were a regular occurrence. I managed to complete the 2 years. Was given an honorable discharge, and the dog's moving the laptop. Lay down, Ryder. Thank you. There's Tony. It's all right. You made it. That's all that matters. Leaving the Marine base behind and feeling homesick for my old environs, I hitchhiked back to my old hometown and returned to my brother's home. I soon found work as a painter for a construction company in town, but now drinking had become a constant part of my life. Through some friends, I met a woman I really cared for, and soon we were married. A year later, our daughter was born, and eventually 2 boys. Oh, how I loved my brood. This nice little family should have settled me down, but instead my drinking progressed. It finally reached the point where I was intolerable to live with, and my wife filed for divorce. I just went berserk, and the sheriff ordered me to leave town. I knew if I stayed, my anger at my wife for taking those children away from me would get me into more trouble than even I could handle. So once again, I set off. I left my hatred, resentment, and the clothes on my back this time for good. In the largest city close by I could be found, off, broke, drinking myself into oblivion on Skid Row. At first, a day labor job provided for rent and food, but before long, all the money had to go for booze. I found a mission where someone in need could sleep and eat free. But the bugs were so bad, the food so terrible, and people were such thieves, I decided that it was easier to just sleep outside and that I really didn't need to eat so often. So I found that hobo jungles, parked cars, and abandoned houses made nice places for a bottle. My resentments and me. No one dared to bother me. I was utterly bewildered at where life was taking me. Other hobos I met taught me the safest way to hop on a moving freight train and how to protect myself. They told me who were the easiest people to get a handout from and how to scam them. My biggest problem at that time was to find a way to get enough to drink to keep the reality of my life at bay. I was consumed by hate. For the next 6 years, I went from Skid Row to Skid Row, one boxcar ahead in any direction was as good as another. I had no place to go. One thing about it, I never got lost because I never cared where I was. I crossed the United States 3 times with no plan, no reason, not eating half the time. I hung out with other misfits like myself. Someone would say they were hiring in Florida or New York or Wyoming, and off we'd go. But by the time we would finally get there, they would say they were not hiring anymore. That was all right because we didn't want to work anyway. One scorching day when I was in a desert town drinking, something unusual happened. I felt as though I had reached the point where I couldn't go on. To get away from everyone, I managed to find some booze and started walking out into the desert, thinking, I'll just go until I die. Soon, so drunk, I couldn't walk another step. I fell to the ground and moaned, Oh God, please help me. I must have passed out because hours later I came to and found my way back to town. At the time, I had no idea what made me change my mind about death. Today, I know it was that my higher power took over my life. By this time, I was so wild eyed and filthy, people would shy away from me. I hated the look of fear on their faces when they saw me. They looked at me as if I were not human, and maybe I wasn't. In one large city, I took to sleep on the grates with a piece of plastic over me so I wouldn't freeze. One night, I found a clothing drop box I could get into. It made a nice warm place to sleep, and I could get new clothes in the morning. In the middle of the night, someone threw in more clothes. I opened the top, looked out, and shouted, Thanks. That woman threw up her hands and ran away screaming, Lordy, Lordy. She jumped into her car and screeched off. I was just about as sad a figure of a man as if possible when I jumped off that freight. I found an empty refrigerator car sitting on a siding and took up residence in it. Here you could get welfare very easily, so off I went to apply. Now I could eat. It was my third time in this town, so I headed straight for my favorite bar. Here I met a barmaid who drank like a fish and was as mean a woman as I had ever seen. But she had a place to live, so I moved in, and thus began the romance of a lifetime. I finally had a roof over my head, sheets and food. All we did was drink and fight, but she worked at the bar, so it kept us going. With just enough cash for booze, we drank continuously for several months. Then, on my way to find a drink, I ran into one of my old hobo buddies, an older man. I remembered him as an excessive drinker, an alcoholic. And here he was walking toward me down the street in a white shirt, tie, and suit, looking marvelous, with a big smile on his face. He told me he quit drinking and how he'd managed to do it, and how much better he felt. My first thought was he could do it, if he could do that, I can do that and much better because I'm only 33. He took me down to this club where there were some other recovered alcoholics. I drank coffee while they all told me how they had changed. It looked like they might have something here. If they could do something, maybe, just maybe, I could too. Their enthusiasm was catching. I began to feel excitement inside, but had no idea why. I rushed off to tell my new girlfriend about what had happened and how great it would be if we quit drinking. "You're nuts," she yelled at me. You can just drag your rear back to your refrigerator car. I've got parties to go to." Although I seemed unable to transmit my excitement, I told her more. The next day, we both quit drinking. There are no words to explain why it happened or how it happened. It just did. It was a miracle. Every day we were able to stay sober was another gift from a higher power I had given up on many long years before. The next year, we took a job managing a camp outside of town, where drunks were sent to get dried out, and sobered up. It was our responsibility to see that they had food and stayed out of trouble. Both tasks were almost impossible at times, but we kept trying. With some sort of old timer in AA, we lasted a year. This was a volunteer job, and we had little money for ourselves. When the year was up, I went over the list of drunks who had been through the place. 178 in all. I exclaimed to my partner, "Not a single one of them is sober today." "Yeah," she replied, "but you and I are." And so on that happy note, we were then married. My sponsor told me if I wanted to form a relationship with my higher power, it would be necessary for me to change. At a meeting one night, a member said, "It's not how much you drink, it's what you drink or what drinking does to you." That statement changed my whole attitude. Of course, I had to surrender and accept I was an alcoholic. I had a hard time giving up the anger at my ex-wife for taking my kids, at the man who offed my mother, and at my father for what I felt was deserting me. But these resentments eased with time as I began to comprehend my own defects of character. I began to comprehend I already read that part. I became acquainted with some monks in a nearby monastery who listened to my story with some amazement and were able to help me understand myself. At the same time, my sponsor and other old timers who had taken us under his wing loved us back to rejoin society. Gradually, the ice that was my heart melted and I changed as my relationship with my higher power grew. Life began to take on a whole new meaning. I made what amends were possible, but knew I would have to return to my childhood home to clear up the part of my past that we were busy with our own paint contracting company now. And as the years passed by, the opportunity to go back home just did not come. as the months following the day we quit drinking have turned into years, I've become increasingly more devoted to this program that saved not only my life, but my wife's also. Eventually, I became involved in AA service and helped get a central office started for our groups. We both became active in general service, er, yeah, and began traveling all over the state, going to meetings. To my surprise, both of us were given the opportunity to serve as delegates to the General Service Conference. I'm getting warm. What joy we found in this. One of the most memorable moments was when, at the opening of the conference, the chairman of AA's General Service Board said, "We are all gathered here tonight, not as individuals, but for the betterment of Alcoholics Anonymous all over the world." The years flashed back to when I was on the grate outside that hotel, frantically trying to keep from freezing. I was overwhelmed by God's grace just to be there. One day, a friend of mine who writes for a living asked if I could write the story of my life for a magazine. He assured me there would be no anonymity problems, so I agreed. I have been sober for almost 25 years at this time and had no idea what God, as I understood him, was about to do for me. My oldest brother, the one who had taken me in, just happened to subscribe to this magazine and just happened to read the article. Thus began an amazing chain of events that had altered not only our lives, but the lives of my family and many others. It is nothing short of a modern day miracle. God has done for me what I could not do for myself. The article gave the name of the town I live in. So after my brother and sister-in-law finished reading the story, they came directly assistance and phoned me. The first time we had spoken in more than 30 years. I burst into tears, and so did they. They told me that after my disappearance following the divorce, my family had tried repeatedly to locate me. They were concerned because someone had told them I was either passed or had left the country. I felt bad that I had worried them like that, but in my self-centeredness, it had simply never occurred to me that they cared that much. One by one, I talked to all my brothers and sisters in the next 24 hours. My brother gave me the phone number to my own daughter, whom I hadn't seen for 27 years, and I called her. Next, I talked to both my sons. Oh God, what an experience. I was so overwhelmed by all the memories that the lost years had it was difficult for me even to speak. I spent several weeks crying as all the old hurt rose to the surface and were healed. Later, we had a big family reunion back in my hometown. It was a happy day for all of us to be together. For the first time since we were split up, my father had passed away, but all his children were there with their families. A large and joyous crowd, finally, after all those years of wondering about my family, my higher power had acted through my friends to undo the tangled circumstances and allow me to make amends to the people who I had been hurt by, but that who had been hurt by my bitterness. I believe that I am living proof of the AA saying, don't give up until the miracle happens. I highlighted in this one. Y'all know I do. I was on that being pissed off mode for a while. It was my own fault, my own doing. Nobody made me do it. Nobody told me that I had to become that alcoholic or that I needed to be that mean, because I was mean. I was mean even to myself. I still have my flaws with not liking how I look, the way life is sometimes, the things that my higher power throws in my path, like stop me dead in my tracks. Like, this doesn't feel good, I'm gonna retract, and I need to keep going forward because there's no going back. It's hard for me to always remind myself that, because if I don't want to go back to who I was, but I also can't forget who I was, because if I forget who I was when I was drinking, then I won't be able to remind myself that this is why I'm where I'm at and how I got here. And I have to thank my sponsor. I always have to thank my sponsor and AA for helping me to become sober and become who I am now and accept life on life terms. It's going to throw me loops all the time. And I can't change it. I can only control my reaction. And sometimes it's hard to control that. But I did go off, and when I was a teenager, I always talk about when I was a teenager, because I did all these things as a teenager. I took off. I ran away. I think when I was 15, maybe 16, we moved to a little town, and my parents thought that it would keep us from, I say us, I'm saying me and my twin, because we used to be together all the time. But until we found our first partners, we were kind of independent. We didn't really, we were close, but we didn't see each other all the time. Which, given growing up as a twin, you kind of want to make your own identity. But little did we know that we were going through the same things at the same time without telling each other. So when I was a teenager, I ran away in a little town, and I had thought I had friends. But really, the only person that had my back was my cousin, who was always there, usually, in my partying with all the younger adult people. I took off and went in the woods and made a lean-to and slept in a lean-to. It was just like a little hut. We made it with ferns and sticks, and we were there all the time. And I didn't eat very much. We had a little bit of food, but I had two people with me all the time that one of them was really trying to keep me safe, and the other one was my partner, and that ended up stupid later on. Um, but I did that all thinking that they were the people for me, and so I always tried to have myself around adult people who could buy me the alcohol and buy me the cigarettes, and it was easier than a lot of people thought, especially back then. But I I got pregnant when I was 16. No, I was 17. Yeah, I was 17. So, anyways, I got pregnant at 17 and I had my son, and I didn't, I stopped drinking and I just started being a mom and taking care of my kid. Then I started going and hanging out with my friends again. I had my son with me. I made sure he was always fed. I made sure he always had clothes and diapers and all of those things. And of course, I was hanging out with my adult friends and my adult boyfriend. And life happened. And I got married at 21 and still married. Gone through the alcohol days. I mean, I can't say I wasn't an alcoholic because I definitely was, and for sure I was. Because if I had alcohol, I could do anything, man. I could do anything. I was invincible. But I would go out to the bar, and my husband would take care of the kids because he didn't really like to go in the bar. So I would go, but I wasn't drinking all the time because sometimes I was the driver. And so when I hit my 30s, I went downhill fast and I was not stopping. Yeah, I was just on the binging. And then I got where I had to drink every single day. I had to drink in the morning when I opened my eyeballs. And if I didn't have any, I was sure in the hell getting my butt dressed and going down to the store and bumming money on my way so I could get that first drink. I don't miss that. I really don't miss that at all. It was miserable. I lost a lot of friends that I thought were my friends again, and I've got some of my friends back. And I learned that I need to make those amends, regardless if it's to fix a relationship or to just make it right for me. Because I can't make somebody accept my apologies. I can only apologize for my part in that. So that's what I do. Anyways, my sponsor took me to my first speaker meeting, and I did not know until right before this meeting that I was also a speaker. Yeah, my story had not been even started when I started AA or when I went to this speaker meeting. But I love her for this because it brought me to where I am now. Yes, that happens. You just have to be stronger than those triggers and uh, ask a higher power to guide you through it and um, go to meetings. make those phone calls that you need to make to help yourself to not go through that. Yes, I started to find my voice. So when I found my voice, I started to actually pay attention to what I was supposed to be doing to better myself in my sobriety. And I have to thank that to the rooms and my sponsor, because without them, I would not be sitting here telling you all about my story. And then this part really touched me. She took me to my first ever conference. Okay, well, she didn't take me to it. She invited me to it, and I went, and I enjoyed it. It was fun hanging out with all the sober people. Yes, it was fun. You can have fun when you're sober, believe it or not. I guarantee you can have fun sober. Hi, Rick. I see you over there. You're doing well too, I hope. So the part where it says something about the article brings me to my sponsor again. It's a fact. I watched it happen with my sponsor. 403 days sober, divorce. Hey everyone. Hey, thank you for coming. Good job on your 403 days. That is awesome. Awesome. You're welcome to come here and talk anytime you want on my live streams. I always caution people before they do that. If I accidentally say your name and you don't want me to, let me know. But otherwise, I leave it up to that person and their feelings on if they want to be known or not, and whatever, because it's not my story to tell unless somebody wants me to. But yeah, my sponsor has already told her story, and so the articles that you can do in this magazine, it can have that ripple effect of greatness. I've seen it done, after all. I have family that I've never met. I have family that are still in the throes of alcohol. It's sad, but sometimes they don't make it, and we can only pray for them to make it and to be able to find that sobriety is worth every day. I've been sober for 11 years. November, December, January, February, March, April. A year and 5 months. 11 years and 5 months. Sorry, not a year. But the sobriety, when you first start and you start seeing that you connect with people in these rooms and they give you their phone numbers, it's not to push it on you. It is to let you know that there are people out there that are or have gone through that same struggle, and it's real. There's help absolutely everywhere. I mean, look at me here. I'm doing them online. And I was scared to death to start doing them online because of the judgment. And then I realized I have to speak the truth about my alcoholism to everyone. And I can't shy away from who I am as a recovering alcoholic, because that's who I am. And it's not an identity crisis. It's the truth. And I'm not going to run from my truth of being a recovering alcoholic. I tell everybody. all my friends that don't know or did not know when they became my friends that I'm a recovering alcoholic, they sure do shortly after. And it's because I'm not shy to say that I'm a recovering alcoholic, because that's who I am. That's who I'm going to always be. And I have to always remind myself that that is who I am. And acceptance and making those adjustments in your life to accommodate your sobriety is worth it. Um, if I can't get to a meeting, I do a meeting here. That's why I have the two meetings a week. I do one Tuesday mornings at 11 a.m. live stream. And if I'm not going to be live, I will post it on my page that I'm not going live that Tuesday, whether I'm feeling sick or I have family stuff going on. But I also do one on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you guys. And you're more than welcome to come to them. That's why I do it, is to help the next one. And it's service work. And if I really, 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 truly, desperately need a meeting, you better believe I'm going to a meeting. I will drive myself to a meeting, or I will have somebody take me to one. Because those days that I feel like I have to go to a meeting is when I'm definitely going to go to a meeting. And that's just what I've learned. And if it's late at night and I can't drive at night because I can't see very well, then I call my sponsor. And usually she will answer her phone. If she can't, it's because she lost it. I gave away your secret. You lose your phone. But AA works, guys. And I'm not just saying that. I'm proof. I'm proof. I'm blessed to be sober. I'm blessed to have what I have. I'm blessed to have my friends back. Oh, and life is okay. It's not perfect. It's okay. And sometimes you have to be okay with just being okay. And but I am okay. And I hope you guys are having a good day. And just know, if you're the newcomer, you're welcome here. Watch the replay. Just hit the like button. And subscribe for the next videos to notify you. If you're not watching my regular videos, I do lots of shorts. I do stuff with the dog and all those. If you don't watch those and you're just getting something out of the AA, thank you. It means a lot to me to be able to reach you guys with my sobriety journey, and that way is more meaningful than anything else. And so, yeah, my sister's husband is 3 years sober, almost. I'm proud of him. Somebody we were trying to help get sober is sober, and I'm not saying our stories made him change it. He did that all on his own. So, but if you're struggling today, just know you're not alone. If you need a meeting, make that phone call. Look it up. If you can't look up a meeting because you ain't got a phone or anything like that, go to a church. Most of the churches will know where to send you to find an AA meeting, or let you use their phone that you can call and find somebody that is doing a meeting, or right here online. The reason I do these ones is for those who can't get out to a meeting, like my sponsor. She can't get out all the time to go to a meeting, so I do these meetings for that, for those who can't get out and go to a meeting. But I love you guys, and you're welcome here no matter what. Um, Service work is worth it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.